warm up for this weekend.
And we bring you more details behind the new heat risk forecast tool, as well as talk about how our area is heating up compared to other U.S. cities.
Plus, the start of hurricane season is a little more than a month away, but the tropics are already showing signs of life. We take a look at a new disturbance out in the Atlantic.
WBRC Fox 6 News. First Alert Weather Extra starts now.
Okay, we're talking tropical outlooks, warmer weather, scattered wet weather. Are you ready for it yet?
Yeah, what's going on?
Yeah.
One thing that we have noticed, fairly calm in terms of severe weather. I was checking out with the National Weather Service office in Birmingham. Statewide, 17 confirmed tornadoes.
Wow.
Thus far, which is not many. We've, this time of the year, we've already been up to 40 and 50 in the years past.
Well, I mean, you look at this week, we have the anniversary of April 27th coming up, and the April 15th system. You know, we were talking, there have been in May severe weather situations. We had the Centerville tornado. That was a May event that happened, but you know, we're kind of over the hill as far as the
jet stream starts lifting to the north, and we just get hot around here.
And that's what's starting to happen. That's the next big thing. We have warmer afternoons on the way. 70s right now showing up. Tuscaloosa 77. A few isolated showers for areas to the south. It's not a lot of rain, but we are seeing some of these pop-ups. You can see in the Sumter County around Gainesville and around Epps, and this is drifting to the south. So for folks there along the Tombigbee River between Epps and Bologee, giving you that first alert for some rain. Our friends here in southern Greene County, a little bit of shower activity. And then also you go into areas to the southeast around Lake Martin right now, some rain. This is all now south of Alexander City. So make sure you check the First Alert weather app if you are to the south. I was noticing our Oak Grove camera here at Talladega. You can see some of those puffy cumulus clouds. You can tell it's starting to warm up this afternoon. There's actually a front that's moved in here and stalled out, and that's kind of the focal point for some of these pop-up showers that we're seeing. And we'll see some more tomorrow. But out the door, notice as you go north of that boundary how it's still some of that drier air to the far north. It's going to feel a little bit cooler there early in the day, but to the south noticeably milder. In fact, there's going to be some patchy fog out there early tomorrow morning, so watch out for that early in the day. You check in with Matt and Mickey. Rain chances tomorrow still limited, only 20 to 30% as you can see for tomorrow during the day, but there could be some scattered showers again late afternoon and evening, so just watch out for that during the afternoon. I certainly wouldn't cancel any big plans you have. Just know that we could see a brief passing area of rain there late in the day. And then Friday, only we put just a 10% chance for maybe a stray shower, so not a lot of wet weather. In fact, if you are working on the garden, you've planted the tomatoes, you may want to water those over the next couple of days as rain chances are going to stay rather limited. But we do have some warmer afternoons that we're going to talk about coming up in your First Alert forecast.
Well, Wes, as we prepare for those warmer temperatures, meteorologist Matt Daniel and Mickey Ferguson join us now with more info on the CDC's newest tool to help combat heat safety issues.
Hey, we've been talking about this big warm up in temperatures as we get into the weekend. Our temps get into the 80s. We're not quite needing the relief from the heat like this guy here. He's just standing out there and using the garden hose to cool off. But we've got some interesting information for you. Some experimental data handed down from the National Weather Service.
The National Weather Service is looking at ways to let you know about how hot it's going to be and how that could possibly impact your health. So they've released this experimental thing called heat risk. And it's just the risk of heat-related impacts just over 24 hours. So they do like a daily forecast for that across the country.
So we've got several different stages of heat. We're getting into that now. We're still explaining.
Yeah, we're going to get to that. So it's just like the Storm Prediction Center where it's like a marginal slight. Yeah. They have a colored and number-coded grid to sort of highlight that. But they're combining weather information like how hot it is, climatology, like is it normally supposed to be 80 degrees and it's now 90 degrees.
And center disease control data as well.
Yeah, for heat-related illnesses and how the heat impacts the body. So they use all these questions about how unusual it is, the duration of it, and those health impacts as well. So here's the scale that we were talking about.
Well, minor almost speaks for itself. Minor impacts to individuals. Now, some people could be extremely sensitive to heat, so that would just play a part in their little warnings, but for the most part, minor is not something to be concerned about.
Yeah, getting to that moderate stage, that orange shaded. I know there's so many different categories that we put out. I know it can get pretty confusing. So this is just highlighting how they're looking into this experimental forecast. But if it's moderate, impacts most individuals sensitive to heat. So
I'm sure we could get several moderates in the course of the summertime.
I would assume if it's like 80 degrees and you're outside and it's sunny, you know, you could have some heat exhaustion if you're overworking or not staying properly hydrated.
Now, major, the heat risk category is anyone without effective cooling, like not able to hydrate yourself, or if you're in heat-sensitive industries or infrastructure, or if you're exposed to heat for an extended period of time.
Yeah, I would imagine we would see some majors with 90s here. And then if you're talking about a major heat wave where you're just unable to cool off at night, where lows are like near 80, and you're having highs near 100 or heat index values 110, 115, I'm sure that's when you'd probably see those extreme values. And that's when it's really critical when it comes to your health, making sure you limit your time outside and you stay hydrated.
Well,
So-
let's just look over the next few days, for example.
Yeah, let's do that.
We're getting into the 80s. So, for example, tomorrow into Texas, they have a minor risk of seeing some heat-related problems.
Yeah, so we're not expecting this map to be all red and purple for this time of the
Springtime.
year, but you know, I bet by the end of May, going in June and July, we'll start seeing it.
Some
But
different colors,
But
yeah.
notice Friday showing a little bit of yellow, some minor issues there across the southeast, including Alabama, and then even going into Saturday, maybe a moderate chance for some heat risk in parts of Houston, southeastern portions of Texas. But for us here, minor issues as temperatures climb into the lower 80s. So pretty interesting information. This is all to inform people about the heat risks and you know, try to provide more safety to the public.
So stay informed and don't sweat it.
That's right.
See what I did there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Matt and Mickey. Also, thanks for those awful puns. But you bring up a good point. I think monitoring heat risk is going to be so valuable in the years ahead because we want to look at some of the latest data regarding climate change and warming temperatures. So this is some data that was put together by Climate Central. They are a great company that looks at different weather risks with climate change and analyzes the scientific data that shows since the Industrial Revolution overall on Earth there has been a marked warming. And so how does that match up here in the U.S.? Earth Day was just on Monday, and the first Earth Day was actually back in 1970. So what we did is looked at the data since that Earth Day in 1970 and what has happened with temperature trends in the U.S. since then. Well, overall, all 50 states across the U.S. have warmed since 1970, those average temperatures, and almost 200 cities were analyzed across the U.S., and it showed that each of those cities on average warmed about 2.5 degrees. And what about Alabama? What could we see here in terms of us? What have we seen over the past 50 years? Well, you can actually see the Birmingham area in comparison to the state of Alabama and the United States has warmed on average. The temperature change has shown a warming of 3.7 degrees Fahrenheit. And so this just goes to show that over the past 50 years, here in areas like Birmingham and even in the state of Alabama, there has been a marked warming over the past 50 years. And one thing to note too, if you compare Birmingham with the rest of the state as a whole, Birmingham is an urban area, and sometimes it can be influenced by a phenomenon called an urban heat island because Birmingham has a lot of concrete and pavement. It's an urban metro area that can produce more heat. So it's certainly going to be something to watch in the months and years and decades ahead. What can we do to mitigate climate change here as humans? We'll continue to talk about it here on Weather Extra.
Thanks, Lauren. Great explanation there. Now we take you across the country to the severe weather threat shaping up for the Central Plains, with Tornado Alley expected to have an increase in activity. We've been updating you all on this developing situation across the central U.S. Even though most of the day tomorrow will the cap will be keeping storms under severe limits. A few supercells are expected to break through by early evening from Kansas all the way to Oklahoma. The Storm Prediction Center has issued a level 3 out of 5 risk due to the threat of EF2 or stronger tornadoes. From there, these storms will move quickly through to the upper Midwest. But in 30 seconds, we're going to take a quick check on our forecast and take you out to the Atlantic, where we're currently watching the tropics. We'll be right back. You're watching First Alert Weather Extra.
And welcome back into First Alert Weather Extra. We've had a couple of isolated showers across the state, but isolated. I mean, right now, most of our area is rain free. It's down in the far southern Greene County, so I wouldn't worry too much about wet weather canceling your plans for this evening. Just know those temperatures are in the 70s out there. Feeling nice across the area as we look ahead. I want to show you some of the views around the state here. First off, we'll head out to Southern Sky Aviation. There's Helena showing 75, but you can see 76 degrees right now. The dew point showing up at 54. I was noticing to the south, it was feeling a bit more humid. Let's check out Reform here. Dew point at 58. So the further south you go, those dew points are a little bit higher. That's where it's going to feel noticeably milder for the overnight. But we'll see 80-degree temperatures more widespread over the next couple of days. Still could see some scattered showers and thunderstorms for tomorrow afternoon. We're going to break down rain chances not only for the next 7 days, but we'll go beyond the next 7 days coming up. But we also have some interesting developments already happening in the tropics. Let's check in now with JP.
Yeah, Wes, it's not even hurricane season yet, and we are watching an area in the Atlantic. Now, don't get too concerned about this. It's pretty minute. It's about 2,000 miles away, but we'll show it to you anyway. This is what we're looking at right now. This little area in the tropics, as we're checking out AccuTrack, we'll go ahead and zoom in on it and put things in motion. So what we are seeing here is just a little bit of development. There it is, not much on the satellite picture at all. This is what the National Hurricane Center started watching today. In terms of tropical development over the next week or so, there's only a 10% chance, but what we are looking at is increased sea surface temperatures. So it is likely as we move into the next several months that we will see a better chance of tropical development across parts of the Atlantic and the Caribbean. Watching the Atlantic, that is the system, that is the X marks the spot, really not a system at this point. Hurricane season begins on June 1st, and it is expected to be a very active season based on the data that we do have. Look at these sea surface temperatures. So we're in the late April. We're not even to May yet, and the key temperature for tropical development is around 80 degrees. Look at the temps right down the Gulf of Mexico. 81 degrees, 80 just off the coast there of Florida. You get farther out in the Atlantic, and those temperatures again, those are sea surface temperatures around 80 degrees. So here's what we're expecting based on the Colorado State University, their 2024 hurricane forecast. Average 14 named storms, CSU expecting 23. Now CSU's been doing these hurricane forecast for ages, started with Dr. Bill Gray, who originated that there. Hurricanes, 7 on average, 11 during the month of April. That first named storm, I don't think it's going to be the one, that system that we're watching right now, but that first named storm will be Alberto. Really the peak timing for the Atlantic hurricane season, that is in September. And that's a look at the tropics. We'll keep an eye on it, of course, over the next several months. More of Weather Extra still to come.
Well, starting to feel warmer across the area. Temperatures right now in the 70s. We're up to 78 here at Fayette, 77 in Tuscaloosa, Aliceville at 78. Also feeling nice and comfortable here across East Alabama. Check out Ashland, Anniston Center right there. Feeling those 70s. Just a couple of isolated showers to the south. Not a lot of wet weather. Notice how the model data, this even shows through this evening, maybe a little brief shower perhaps around Greensboro or New Bern there into Perry County. But the models, you can clearly tell, have a good handle on where we're seeing those isolated showers. But for most of us, it looks dry, very warm, very mild for this evening. Overnight lows in the 60s tonight. One thing we got to, or I should say overnight lows in the 50s tonight. You can see by 11 o'clock temperatures in the 60s, but we need to watch out for some fog in the morning. That's going to be an issue early in the day. Some of the cooler locations, typically there to the north and east around Gadsden Center, we might see upper 40s in a few spots like Hoax Bluff, but the rest of the day, another big warm up coming up. Notice we have more 80s showing up on the map tomorrow, even showing Talladega up to 81 degrees, 79 at Aniana, and those clouds start to build back in, and the chance that we could see a couple of isolated showers. Now, most areas for tomorrow once again stay dry, but watch out between 2 o'clock and 6 o'clock. Just check the weather app because there might be a precipitation alert where you are. Model data is showing, especially to the west there, a chance for seeing maybe some isolated development. But for the most part, just not a lot of rain showing up here and through Friday. Looks like also a day there, just some clouds and a nice warm afternoon, feeling a bit more humid, maybe a stray shower to the far north. We kept a 10% chance in there. I certainly wouldn't cancel my plans for Friday, and the same goes for this weekend. Looks like overall not a bad weekend forecast. Nice warm up into the 80s each day. Winds out of the south direction in general. Maybe a stray sprinkle there Saturday, but that's about all we have in the forecast right now. In the 7-day forecast, you can see going into Sunday, again low 80s for highs, but milder nights. Those overnight lows in the 60s. And watching Monday night and into Tuesday, a 30% chance for scattered showers and storms coming back. So we'll see another slight increase in that rain chance to start off next week. But we're getting closer and closer to the end of the school year, and we're a lot of school visits coming up. I had a great visit today. I was over at Glen Iris Elementary School, and all the first graders, they were so excited to talk about the weather. Thankfully, I had all 6 strings on the guitar, Tania, so we had a lot of fun singing some weather songs today, and they are great singers. We did the Jetstream song, and they were all excited. I just want to give a shout out to Miss Jackson, Miss Rogers, Escort Sims, Hall, Thomas, Miss G, all the teachers there for helping us out, set this up, and just a wonderful time. There's Coach in the background. You can see there actually was on the, we put some weather graphics up, so some of the teachers came up, you know, we helped out giving the weather forecast. But we had a lot of fun out there today, Tania, so a great time today. And I know you have a visit coming up tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, Wes, but I mean, I don't know if it's going to beat their energy. Those kids in the camera, they were waving like, pick me, pick me. I'm not mad at it. They look like they had a great time.
They had a great time today.
Okay, so Wes, now we got to go beyond the 7-day. Let people know what they can expect as we take a look here at our First Alert weather calendar. There are some days that you see flashing in red. Don't let that scare you. We are expecting a little bit more wet weather on those days that you see highlighted in red, starting with the chance for an isolated shower or storm for your Thursday, but drying up just in time for you to enjoy your Friday and your weekend. The clouds will stick around for us both days of the weekend, but still shaping up to be a very warm day. Low 80s for us this weekend. We start next week with a little bit of unsettled weather, the chance for showers and storms around Monday and next Tuesday, but we look to bring in drier conditions as we start off the month of May 1st and May 2nd, before some more unsettled weather could be around for us by the end of next week and into next weekend. The chance for storms around by May 3rd, May 4th, and May 5th, and then that carries into the following week, May 6th there on that Monday, but looking drier by May 7th and May 8th. Now, of course, things can and possibly will change as we go beyond the 7-day, but I do want to take a look here beyond the 7-day for that 8 to 14-day temperature outlook. May 2nd through May 8th, looks like majority of the U.S. going to be experiencing above average temperatures, minus along the West Coast, a little bit cooler possibly in California, up towards Oregon and Washington and Nevada. But for us here at home, we're included in those above average temperatures. We could be seeing temperatures maybe 80s and maybe 90s. Did I say 90s? No, Nah, you didn't hear that from me yet. Not yet. We're not getting there just yet. But as we look at that 8 to 14 day rainfall outlook, still looking at the possibility for some wetter weather for portions along the central U.S., including Texas. That's May 2nd through May 8th. And notice along the West Coast, Pacific Northwest, they could be seeing some above average rainfall. But for us here at home across Alabama, more below average rainfall. So we could be seeing drier conditions between May 2nd through May 8th, although our first look weather calendar did hint at some days where we could see a little bit of wet weather around. But seeing below average rainfall is a good sign for us here in Alabama, especially with us still being in the peak of severe weather season. So hopefully, cross our fingers, we're not expecting any kind of severe weather for the rest of this spring season, okay? But now taking you across the world to Greece, where the capital turned into something that looked like it could be from a different planet. Look at that orange sky there. This footage is showing yellow-orange haze from the clouds of dust blown from the Sahara Desert, and it covered Athens and other Greek cities. Yesterday, officials called it one of the worst episodes of dust and sand concentrations to hit the country since 2018. Authorities warned the dust concentrations could pose risks for people with underlying health problems. Skies were expected to start clearing today, and hopefully it looks a lot better than that, but that definitely looks like a scene out of a movie. But up in the stars now, it's now your chance to see what's known as the Devil Comet. And get this, it only comes around every 71 years. This week is when it's at its brightest, but it will still take some effort to spot. Though it is visible right now with the naked eye, a telescope or binoculars will make it much more easier to see. Devil Comet got its name from the volcanic-like eruptions astronomers observed that temporarily made it look like it had a pair of horns. But back here on Earth, guys, we'll be right back with your final check of weather. You're watching First Alert Weather Extra.
Well, hopefully you've been able to capture that bright moon over the past few evenings. It's been incredible out there.
Ooh, that's pretty.
I know, it's like it looks like daylight out there. It's so.
And then this is a gorgeous view of the Cahaba River sent in from Kelly Samples. You can already see some lilies in bloom
That's
outside.
Cute. Ooh, Sunny Bear Farms. Brandy, thank you for sending that picture in. Gorgeous view there. I know her farm is probably a lot of fun.
Look at that. And Jamie's garden, Donna
looks
Sorensen.
nice.
That is a nice looking garden. Things
And
are
it's
full-
named? Okay.
Oh,
top
yeah.
notch.
There's a lot of detail in that.
Yeah, there's a lot of detail.
I
Hard
need to
work.
come get them to do my garden.
No, wow.
Got some nice design elements
Yeah.
to it. I like
Looks
it.
a little fancier than my garden, I've got to admit.
And I also need to borrow the first guy's telescope.
Yeah.
Or either his whatever
Something,
telescope,
whatever you-
Let me
camera.
tell you something.
Better
Go
than this.
Google it, how to take a picture with your iPhone of the moon. There's some great tips. It's
Okay.
really, you could do this and make it look good.
All right, hey, we'll see you tonight. Updates on radar and rain chances starting at 9.
Have a good evening.
See ya.